Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam, bangum langayate girim, yatkripa tamaham vande, Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna, welcome to the session on Bhagavad Gita. We will try to read some topics from Bhagavad Gita after the introduction is done. So today we are going to see the 15th chapter, which is called Purushottam Yoga. Why? Because this month, this Adhika month, is called Purushottama month. So just like we have a leap year in the solar calendar, and every 4 years we have 1 day extra, which is on the February 29. So similarly in the lunar calendar, we have something called a leap year, in which 1 extra month is added. So this extra month is called Adhika Mas. So usually the 12 months have 12 different names, and there are the devata of that month, and all the auspicious activities for which we invite devas, we do in that month, in that tithi, in that particular time. But this Adhika Mas, so since it is Adhika, it is extra month, there was no presiding deity, and Krishna himself, who's none other than Purushottama, himself accepted to be the presiding deity of this month, making this month the most auspicious month. So we don't do any other materialistic auspicious activities on this month, but it's completely used for engaging in the auspicious activities for the soul, or the devotional spiritual activities. And the bonus is that whatever we do, the effect is multiplied many times. So we heard Vinita Gandharvika Mataji give a nice lecture on the Purushottama month and its glories. So one of the out of the many things that we can do in Purushottama month, few to-dos are we show a ghee lamp to the Lord every single day. This is apart from the Aarti lamp that we show, and we have prayers that we can sing, Jagannath Ashtakam, Chaurashtakam, and Damodar Ashtakam. And this month is also dedicated to the worship of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. So we can sing songs on Radha Krishna and increase our japa as much as possible, and also increase our Bhagavata Shravana, what we are doing, plus increase our outreach programs. So this is something very unique and very new. But because people don't know about this, they are missing the value of this month. So just like if there is a sale in a branded store, say Hollister has put a sale, then we post it in our friends group and we say that there's a sale here, please go and buy. So similarly, this is a spiritual sale month. So we try to bring this awareness to as many people as possible. So even if they do just one diya, do Tulasi Puja, worship of Radha Krishna, chant at least one Mahamantra, it's going to be greatly beneficial. So we might not see the immediate effect of this. Like if we go to a showroom where there is a sale, we immediately get a new dress, something in hand. But this thing, we may not immediately see the result in hand, but this is the real eternal asset for us. So His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj used to say, if someone is chanting one round, then it's like so many millions of names a year. Because ultimately, when we look back in our lives, what we have achieved, what we have attained, also we spend majority of the time in stabilizing ourselves, settling down, buying our own home, car, settling the children, and all those things. These things doesn't satisfy the soul. Of course, this has to be done. We cannot run away from the duties, but then this has to be done parallelly, doing the activities that satisfy ourselves, and that which will come with us forever. So that is one such month is now going on, and we can take advantage of this month by engaging in as many devotional activities as possible. So one such activity is reading the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Purushottama Yoga. So Bhakti yoga means many meanings are there. One of them is a process of linking or connecting to Krishna. So here, Purushottama Yoga, Krishna says how to reach that Purushottama, who is the Purushottama, and how to reach the Purushottama. The linking process, the path to attain Purushottama is explained in this. So Purusha Uttama. Purusha has different meanings. One is enjoyer, controller, the best of males. Uttama is the best. So Purushottama is the supreme person who is the best of all. So how he is the supreme person who is the best of all, he's telling very nicely in this 15th chapter. So what we are going to do now is, we will each one of us will take turns to recite the shloka and the translation, and we will see some parts of the purport and go to the next shloka. So like this way, this chapter has 20 shlokas. So we can all take turns. Everybody can recite one shloka. So who wants to start? Okay, maybe I can start. Yeah, Balavrinda, go ahead.
Udamulam madashakam ashvatam rahuravyayam chandamsi asya pardani tasyam vedasa vedavrit.
Very good. Thank you, Balavrinda. Thank you so much. Okay, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas. So he's starting the first 5 shlokas are how to disentangle ourselves from things that are not real. From 60 to 20 is the path, is called the Purushottama Yoga. So here, after discussion of Bhakti Yoga, we'll see parts of this. So Krishna is saying that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and branches down. That means tree is upside down and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. So one who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas. What is this tree? So in the second paragraph, see, the entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end. And for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of this tree. This tree's roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. Imagine this tree, it's upside down tree. The whole material world is explained as a tree that is upside down. Why? Because the material creation starts with Mahat Tattva, and the first thing that was created was Brahma Loka. From Brahma Loka, after Brahma, everything else is created. So, so he's telling we have to understand this tree. Why understand this tree? For what reason to understand this tree? So when you understand this tree means to understand that this tree is illusory. It is a reflection. Because there is no, see this paragraph, the third one. Now, there is no ready experience in this world of a tree situated with its branches down and its roots upward. But there is such a thing. That tree can be found beside a reservoir of water. We can see that the trees on the bank reflect upon the water with their branches down and roots up. In other words, the tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire. Just as a tree's reflection is situated on water. So, desire is a cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. So only for knowing one's relationship with it, we have to know this tree, and then after knowing we cut off. So why it is imperishable? Because from one branch to another branch to another branch refers going from one body to another body to another body. So while we are in this body, we create the next body. Since the time we are born in the next body, we create the next body and the next body, and then it goes on. Why? Because of our desire to be here. And how to cut, but the same desire, with that same desire, we can reach the real thing. So how to first of all, in order to change the desire, we have to understand that what we are is illusory and its reflection, and it is temporary. And one more point, what this tree denotes is, if there is a reflection, the reflection denotes the presence of the real thing, real tree. So the root of this tree is considered to be Brahman. You see, the reflection tree and the real tree meets at the root. So the root is considered to be the Brahman, and from then on, the real tree, there are so many spiritual planets, and then the material planets is considered to be the reflection tree. So that's why we see here he says, but the origin from whence the reflection is reflected is eternal. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut. When it is said that a person knows the Vedas, it is assumed that he knows how to cut off attachment to this material world. If one knows that process, he actually knows the Vedas. So that's what he's explaining in this. Further, he's explaining the tree in a little more detail. Anybody wants to do this verse?
Can I try, Mataji?
Yes, yes.
Adasya chodava prasthasta shaka guna pravata vishaya pravala adhasacha mulyanu anusantatani karma anubandhine manushya loke. The branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society.
So, thank you, Mataji. So nice reading. So, the branches of this tree extend downward and upward. Both places, everywhere it is spread. Because not that we are only born in this planet, in this species of life. And if we are in the mode, more in the mode of goodness, then we take birth in a place where there is goodness is prominent. And if we are in the mode of passion, then our birth and activities are in the place where it is passion is prominent. And if we are cultivating in the mode of ignorance, then we go down. So go down is for animal life. And so again, it's like a cycle from one place to another place to another place to another place. So see, the description of the banyan tree is further explained here. Its branches spread in all directions. In the lower parts, there are variegated manifestations of living entities, human beings, animals, horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. These are situated on the lower parts of the branches, whereas on the upper parts are higher forms of living entities, the demigods, Gandharvas, and many other higher species of life. As a tree is nourished by water, so this tree is nourished by the three modes of material nature. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water, and sometimes a tract is very green. Similarly, where particular modes of material nature are proportionately greater in quantity, the different species of life are manifested accordingly. And then we continue to journey this. So here one more thing is that the twigs are the objects of the senses. So we can see the branches are from the branches come the twigs. So that's why it is said here, the tips of the branches are the senses. The tips of the branches are the senses, the ears, nose, eyes, etc., which are attached to the enjoyment of different sense objects. And the twigs to which the tips of the branches are attached are sound, form, touch, and so on, the sense objects. So, so what happens is after enjoying or suffering one term of fruitive activities, we are promoted or demoted into another activities. But when we are demoted into animal lives, there is only evolution upward up till human beings. When we are promoted to higher beings of life, after the punya karma is over, then again we come back to the earthly planet as a human being. So that's why it is said that this planet of human beings is considered the field of activities, whereas the other planets are like suffering the results of the fields of activities. So now he's telling in little bit more detail. Anyone who can read these two verses and the translation?
Narupa ashe tata pravayate nanta nachadi nacha sampratishta ashvatam enam suviruddha moolam ashanga shastrena dridam chittatva tata padam tat parimarjitavyam yasmin gasana nivartante bhuyaha tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravrita prashrita purani.
Thank you, Prahlad. Thank you for trying nicely. Okay, so do you want to read the translation also?
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with great determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Therefore, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the supreme personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial.
Thank you. So you see, the first two lines speak about this form of tree is the real form cannot be perceived here. What is perceived here is the reflection tree. And the reflection tree only, we don't know where it ends, where it begins, where its foundation is. Means we cannot say that, why I got this body, because in this life, in the previous life, I did this. Why did I get the previous life? In the life before that, I did something else. So it's hard to find out from where it starts, where it ends. But without worrying about that, what we should do, we should cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. So how sharp our sword should be to cut down something that is strongly rooted. We can imagine, if you try pulling a grass out, how hard it is. And if it's a clump of grass, it's even more harder. But Krishna is talking about a tree that has spread its branches and leaves, and it is spread as like in the universal form. It has taken and it has roots everywhere. So he's giving this description to say that we have to take this seriously and with the weapon of detachment, because it's not possible to have a desire to be here and also have a desire to go back to Krishna. So that's why he's telling thereafter, after we are convinced that we have to uproot this tree with the weapon of detachment, then we have to seek going to that place from which one never returns. And what we have to do, that surrender to that supreme personality of Godhead. Why we have to surrender to him? Because everything began from him only, and he is the absolute truth, and everything has extended since time immemorial. So here here the word asanga is very important in this connection, because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment. How? By discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures, and one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of such discussion in the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the first thing one must do is surrender to him. So this is a process. So how to get the weapon of detachment? By discussion of spiritual science. And the spiritual science should be based on authoritative scriptures. And we must hear from persons who are practicing it, who are actually in knowledge. And because of this, we will come to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then after the fourth shloka, he concludes by telling that you have to come to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to him. But how actually surrender to him is explained in this verse. Who wants to read this?
Can I?
Yes, Varun.
Okay.
Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvair vimukta sukha dukha samyar gachanti mudha paramavyayam tat.
Very sweet. Thank you. Can you do the translation also?
Okay. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the duality as happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person attain to that eternal kingdom.
Thank you. So the first thing here we see is free from false prestige. Otherwise it is called pride. So very nicely, see here, we will read from here. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. So this is, Krishna doesn't tolerate even a little bit of pride. And we can see that he used gopis and Srimati Radharani to tell us this fact that, of course, they have no pride and their pride is transcendental. But to tell us a fact that when we read in the 10th chapter that when they were a little bit proud that Krishna is with them, then he left them. So if they are in that condition, then what to speak of us? And how pride comes? Pride is due to illusion. For although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has a foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. Who can write like this except for Srila Prabhupada? So very nicely he's explaining that how we ourselves are very temporary. We come here and then we claim proprietorship and then we think everything is going on in our head. Without us, nothing will go. I am the person, the cause of everything. We don't tell that, but we, certainly think that in the heart. So, but then the point is Krishna is there in the heart. So he knows that what he's thinking, what we are thinking. So pride is because of illusion, and when we cut through the illusion, then it's easy to come out of the pride. So after, because humility, the spiritual knowledge begins with humility. Humility is opposite to pride. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shantirarjavam, the 19 processes of acquiring knowledge. That in that the first thing is humility, which is opposite to pride, and at the same time he's telling the demoniac qualities: dambo, darpo, abhimanascha, krodha, parusham evacha, ajnanam chabijatasya, partha sambadam ashurim. Dambha, darpa, abhiman, pride, arrogance, conceit are all the qualities of demoniac qualities. So that's what he's saying. Yeah, and then he's possible to understand, to surrender to the Lord. So these 5 shlokas talk about our entanglement in this illusory world and how we can release ourselves from that, why we have to release ourselves from that, who is the one whom we have to surrender to, why we have to surrender to him, and how to surrender. All these things are answered. Now 15.6, he says that, after going to that place, you don't need to come back, and then you attain to that eternal kingdom. So what does that eternal kingdom look like? So that he's explaining in text 6 and 7. Anyone wants to read?
Mataji, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Natat pashayata suryo.
Natat pashayate suryo najanam nana bhavaga yattattana nivartante tattavamara mama I want to
Not now.
Thank you, Vrinda. That was like a bullet fire.
Mataji, I'll
Okay,
read
so
the translation, Mataji.
yeah.
The supreme goal
Mataji,
of mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reaches it never return to this material world.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. So he says, see, one main thing is not illumined by sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Pavakaha. Prabhupada very nicely translates it according to time, place, and circumstances, which is electricity is nothing but fire, a form of fire. So he says, imagine if there is no sun, there is no moon, there's no fire or electricity. We will not be able to live in this world. These are the sources of illumination. This world is actually dark and a cold place, but sun, moon, and fire and electricity makes it livable. But then first thing he's telling us, there is no my abode is not illumined by sun or moon or fire or electricity. Then is it dark and cold? So, and again he says that in this universe there is only one planet that is illuminating, that is the sun. There are different universes and different solar systems, but there is one luminous planet in each solar system, which is the sun planet. But what is sun planet? Why in the spiritual sky there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity? Because all the planets are self-luminous. You have only one planet in this universe, the sun, which is self-luminous, but all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets, called Vaikunthas, constitute the shining sky known as the Brahma Jyoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavana. Part of the shining effulgence is covered by the Mahat Tattva, the material world. Other than this, the major portion of the shining sky is full of spiritual planets, which are called Vaikunthas, chief of which is the Goloka Vrindavana. So basically, this material world starts from Mahat Tattva, and Mahat Tattva is a dark cloud, and then inside Mahat Tattva, the universes, Mahavishnu lies down and then he produces the universes, and then there is sun for illumination. So why he's doing this? Why he's telling this? Because one should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. So that's why Krishna is telling this. Because imagine a planet which is self-luminous. It doesn't need anything that is required of here. So that's the main point here. And then one more thing he's telling in the next verse. So that is about the planet. Comparison to this planet and his planet. What about ourselves? What is our identity? What is our place in the spiritual world? Anyone can read this? So I think she already read, right? Mama Ivamsho Jiva Loke. Translation, anyone want to read?
Mataji, can I read the translation?
Yes, Pranav dear.
The living entities in this conditional world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind.
Yeah, thank you, Pranav. So you see, he's telling Mamaiva Amshaha Jiva Loke. In this world of conditioned life, the Jiva Bhutaha, the conditioned living entity, who is he actually? He is eternal and he is my Amsha, my eternal fragmental parts. And Prabhupada explains that this fragmental part is not like breaking something material. Because the soul and Krishna himself is not material and there is no creation of the soul, so there is no question of fragmental part. The fragmental part here means he has an individual existence and there is an individual independence. So that independence we can either properly use in surrendering to the Lord, or we can misuse and try to serve ourselves. So when we misuse and try to serve ourselves, what happens is we are struggling very hard with the 6 senses. Actually, there are 5 senses, but he includes the mind also. So basically, here he says that there are 2 expansions, Swamsha and Vibhinamsha. Swamsha is his expansions as his incarnations like Rama, Narsimha, Varaha. There's no difference between Krishna and his expansions. All are Vishnu Tattva. And we are also expansions called Jiva Tattva. But then we are of the same quality but of infinitesimal quantity, small quantity. So this is a very significant line. The living entities, not only human beings and the cats and dogs, but even the greater controllers of the material world, Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even Vishnu, are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. They are all eternal, not temporary manifestations. So here we are. So this is a description of Vishnu Amsas and Jiva Amsas. And Jivas, they are struggling very hard. Karshati means struggling. So why we are struggling? Because we want to do something independent of the Supreme Lord. But what if we can dovetail and go to that Supreme Lord? What happens? There, and in his, see, it is stated here that when a living entity gives up this material embodiment and enters into the spiritual world, he revives his spiritual body, and in his spiritual body, he can see the Supreme Personality of God face to face. He can hear and speak to him face to face, and he can understand the Supreme Personality as he is. So this is, we can imagine, if Rupa Goswami is saying that I need millions of tongues and millions of ears just to chant the holy names of the Lord Krishna, and Krishna and his name is non-different, then if we can see the personality of God at face to face, how it would be. And what an information Srila Prabhupada is giving in the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, this is an opportunity for the conditioned soul to see Krishna face to face, talk to him, hear him, and understand him as he is. So why we are struggling? Because of the mind. So that's why the mind is the main driving instrument. That's why he says Manaha Sashtan Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. Okay. So how it happens, how the struggling happens, that he explains in 15.8. Anyone wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can try to read.
Yes, Mataji.
Shariram yadavapnoti yachapyutkramatiishvara grihitvaitani samyati vayurgandhani vasayat. Translation: the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aroma. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So you see, Krishna is giving an overview of what's happening in this material world. We are only thinking about the period of life between one birth and one death. And we don't have a vision to see what happened before and what will happen future. But Krishna is above us, and he's seeing that how we are giving up one body and taking another body as the air carries aromas. So that is very subtle. But then he's saying that, you see, the individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another. And his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries a conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. The process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, a struggle for existence. Even during this life we struggle, But after so much of time we spend in it, but still we can't be eternal in this. We have to keep moving to the next. And after that is over, we need to keep moving to the next. So this transmigration is a struggle, and also in between one birth and death, that's also a struggle. So how exactly it takes place from one body to another, how it happens, is explaining here. Anyone wants to read? Okay, so yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah, I can try Mataji. Shrotram chakshu-sparshanam cha rasanam ghranam cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. Translation. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Hare.
Thank you, Mataji. So here he explains how the consciousness, for example, in a human body, and then how it goes when the soul and the subtle body goes into animal body, it has to have the consciousness of the animal. So here he explains, when we mix water with certain color, water is actually colorless and pure, but when we mix it with certain color, it becomes that color. Similarly, the consciousness is changed according to the association of material qualities. Same way, Srila Prabhupada is telling that if we can situate ourselves, if we can mix our consciousness with the color of Krishna consciousness, then we can achieve Krishna Loka. If we are acting like a cat and a dog, and then we get that body of a cat and a dog, why not? If why not? We will get the body of a devotee of the Lord if we are able to make our consciousness Krishna conscious. So that is the thing here. And one more thing is that the subtle body creates the next body. So the living entity, that's why there is a certain type of sense objects which are grouped about the mind, and he enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Then after that is over, he is put into some other place based on his karma and desires, and then again he enjoys a particular set of sense objects, and again he enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Like that we keep on going. 15.10.
Can I try, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Utkaramantam stitam vapi bhunjanam vaguna nivitam vimurānānu pasyanti jnana chakshuha. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the mode of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this.
Thank you, Mataji. So you see how nicely he says that people can just say, I mean, I don't see anyone, he's quitting his body and he's taking the next body, so why do I believe in it? So he says, if you're a fool, then you can't understand. But if you are trained in knowledge, and where is that knowledge? That knowledge is in the scriptures. See, that's why very, very brilliant purport. The word jnana chakshushaha is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under circumstances, and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of material nature. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. Persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and they stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general. Why? For their conditional life is very troublesome. They should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world. So I think, so with this, he concludes a set of topic. Maybe we should take the next one next time, because I don't think so we'll be able to finish 10 shlokas in the next available time. So now we saw 10 shlokas, and just to summarize, so he started off telling that how there is a inverted banyan tree. The leaves are the Vedic hymns, and the roots are upside down. Roots are up and branches are down, and its roots are spread everywhere. And the twigs are the objects of the senses. Branches are the tip of the branches of the senses, and how we move from one branch to another branch. So this upside down urdhva moolam, upside down banyan tree is basically a reflection banyan tree. The reflection is made in a lake. We can see this, the real banyan tree is reflected in the lake nearby, and the lake is desire. So then he explained that how one who has to see that this because of the bondage and continuous karma and the association of material modes of nature, we are continuing to basically our material existence is this inverted banyan tree. We have some karma in the demigod planets and some in the lower planets, some as animals in different species of life. We have gone everywhere, and again we are going everywhere. We are here only. So then he says that if there is a reflection, there is a real tree, and the root is Brahman. The real tree, there is real variegatedness and real fruit is there. Whereas the fruit in the reflection tree is only an illusion. Then what one should do? One should cut off this inverted banyan tree with the sharp weapon of detachment. And how to get that weapon? By knowledge from the scriptures and by association of people who have knowledge from the scriptures, and by practice that of knowledge we can surrender to the Lord. And how to surrender to the Lord? He explains that first is humility and pridelessness. And why we have to surrender to the Lord? Because He is the sum and substance of everything, and we actually belong to Him. We are His part and parcel, and we actually, that is our eternal place. But here in this temporary world, with the five senses in the mind, we struggle hard going from one body to another. What is struggle? Living in this body itself is a struggle, and transmigrating from one body to another body is a struggle. And how it's happening? So just like the air carries the aromas, the subtle body with its desire and karma carries the soul from one body to the next. And this present life and activities is a background for the next life and activities. And who can understand this? Only a person who's trained in spiritual knowledge can understand this. A foolish cannot understand this great knowledge. So training in spiritual knowledge means accepting shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and rendering service to him, asking questions to him, and understanding this knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master. So So maybe we can pause here. Thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So if you want to share any realizations, questions or comments, we can discuss now. I think the next week we will try to discuss Krishna willing, the next 10 shlokas. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody has any questions? I want to thank Lakshmi Mataji for this idea. So she had texted me that during Purushottam month we should do at least read and understand the Purushottam yoga. So thank you, Mataji, for this novel idea.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for accepting my request and giving a wonderful class.
I tried, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, now it's very much clear, Mataji. It's so nice. Mataji, I just wanted some clarification in the part that you said about the fragmental parts of Krishna. So you said like fragments means we normally think like breaking and making into small pieces, or we think like when the firewood is burning, the spark of the fires, they go everywhere. So like from the sun, the spark or their particles may come, but you said it's not like breaking. It's like it's like complete Krishna, like an avatar you said, or an expansion, right? Can you please elaborate on it, Mataji?
Yeah, you see, Prabhupada is very nicely explaining here. I will read it and we can pause and discuss. In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord eternally. It is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life and in his liberated state becomes one with the Supreme Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said Sanatanaha. According to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva. The secondary expansions are called the living entities. In other words, the Vishnu Tattva is a personal expansion and the living entities are the separated expansions. By his personal expansion, he is manifested in various forms like Lord Rama, Narasimhadeva, Vishnu Murti, and all the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planets. The separated expansion, the living entities, are eternally servitors. The personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the individual identities of Godhead are always present. Similarly, the separated expansions of living entities have their identities. As fragmental part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entities also have fragmental portions of his qualities, of which independence is one. Every living entity as an individual soul has his personal individuality and a minute form of independence. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul, and by proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as a Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is freed from his material condition and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. In his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. See, this is where your question is answered. The word Mamai Vamshaha, fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also very significant. The fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is not like some material broken part. We have already understood in the second chapter that the spirit cannot be cut into pieces. This fragment is not materially conceived. It is not like matter, which can be cut into pieces and joined together again. That conception is not applicable here because the Sanskrit word Sanatana is used. The fragmental portion is eternal. So that's the point, Mataji. So it is not like when you break it, that means it comes into existence at that point of breaking. But he gives an example that it says that Jiva Bhutaha Sanatanaha. They're also eternally situated. Like how the Lord is eternal. Can we put a date on the creation of the Lord that Krishna started to, Krishna became manifest at this point of time? Because there is no concept of time there, so he is eternal. And there is no concept of when he expanded into the fragmental parts and parcels. So that's what he's explaining here. So it is spiritual. It is not time bound. It is not matter. And it is eternal. Mamaiva Amshaha. It is eternal. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, that clarifies that. Yeah, so we are also eternal, but quantitatively very little, but qualitatively equal to, like, we have some qualities of Krishna.
Right,
and
right.
and the independence is one of the important thing they're telling, where we make the choice. Yes, that is understood, Mataji. And one more, and the last text 9, Mataji, you said that the consciousness is pure like water, that was in the purport, and it changes according to the association of material qualities. So I'm just trying to know, Mataji, we read that the subtle body gives us the next body. You mentioned that. The next
Right.
life body. So I'm trying to find, is the consciousness what we're talking here, is it mind or is it is different from mind?
It is mind. The subtle body basically is mind, intelligence, and false ego. And the consciousness is what the desire and the karma. The consciousness is actually emanating from the soul. It is consciousness is described as a symptom of the soul in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So this consciousness is again covered by the mind, intelligence, and false ego, which is a subtle body, and based on that is driven into the next life. Let's go there exactly.
So one more question with that, Mataji, because we know the Rishi, Bharat Rishi, who got the body of the deer in the next life. So was it because of his consciousness or because of his mind? What was the thought in it? Because if it is the subtle body is giving us the next body as a deer, then it should be in his mind. So what about his consciousness? Like, I'm trying.
Mind right now, mind and mind and consciousness, like it's like mind is like a reins, and intelligence is like a driver, and the passenger is a soul. So basically the passenger or the consciousness of the soul is like having no power now, sitting in the chariot that is run by the mind, intelligence, and the senses. So that is why it is stated that it is stated here that the subtle body, which carries a conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. So the consciousness of the soul is covered by the subtle body, and it's giving its power of attorney to the subtle body. So according to where the mind is, it goes. So with respect to Jadabharat, he was thinking about the deer. So he got that drove him into a deer body. Otherwise, you see, here again, there's one thing that I wanted to say, that mind is the see, the conditioned soul is bound up as though shackled by iron chains. He is bound up by the false ego, and the mind is a chief agent which is driving him in this material existence. When the mind is in the mode of goodness, his activities are good. When the mind is in the mode of passion, his activities are troublesome. And when the mind is in the mode of ignorance, he travels in lower species of life. It is clear, however, in this verse that the conditioned soul is covered by the material body, with the mind and the senses, and when he is liberated, this material covering perishes, but a spiritual body manifests itself in its individual capacity. So this is the thing, Mataji.
So mind is a full control, like mind is taking the entire control. So what is consciousness doing, Mataji? I'm trying to understand.
See, consciousness, like here it is said that, right, it's bound up by false ego, like as though shackled by the iron chains.
So it is not free to act, or it is not doing anything. It's in the control of mind.
Yeah. Because we desire that. The desire of false ego is based on this material body. If we think I am the material body, then I will plan only for a better material body, even though if I know that I'm going to, this body is going to die and then I continue to live forever, I'm going to plan ahead for good material life. But when I know that I am soul and I have a spiritual body, that's why he says, you see, in this verse, the conditioned soul is covered by material body with the mind and the senses, and when he is liberated, this material covering perishes. But the spiritual body manifests itself in its individual capacity. So it's like, the spiritual body and the spiritual consciousness is covered by the material. It's like bound up by iron chains, by false ego, mind, and senses, but mind is the main chief agent. So with the mind only we can control the senses, and also by thinking that I am not this body, I am a servant of the Lord, I am an eternal servant of the Lord. The false ego also slowly transforms into the real ego. That's why he says that mind is a chief agent which is driving him.
Okay, so consciousness is under the control of mind. So now we have to take this consciousness to pure Krishna consciousness. So it's how tricky it is to do it, Mataji.
Yeah.
How could we shackle this iron chains and come out into Krishna consciousness?
That's why we can't do it. Only Krishna can do it. But we have to endeavor to show Krishna our determined desire to attain him.
Okay.
So seeing that, he slowly releases. Otherwise he says, Mama Maya Duratyaya. It's hard to do it on our own.
So we cannot do it. How much desire we get, the more desire we are, Krishna gives more mercy to achieve it.
Right. And
Yes.
also, he sees what we choose. For example, I can say my own example. I had the choice to, study, read this purpose and discuss this. And also something else came up that I wanted to help my son in his project, which is due tomorrow, and he wants my help. So this is how, Krishna sees whether we are giving up our spiritual duties for the sake of material duties, or we are balancing both. So then I thought that, okay, let you do whatever you can, and after the class, I can come and help you. So like this way, this is small, but yeah.
Awesome, Mataji. I was saying awesome, Mataji, awesome.
Yeah. Like this, always there is a test, what we are choosing to do, whether chanting or something else, whether spiritual activity or something else. So when we choose and choose and choose, then that becomes a habit and the priority. And we'll see that rest everything else adjust itself accordingly when we make this a priority. And that's what today morning that Prabhu also said, right? Otherwise, left on our own, mind will make material things a priority. But in the association of devotees, then, we are constantly reminded.
Yes, wonderful, Mataji. So in every step of our life, we have been tested by Krishna. So which choice we take, what is our desire?
Right.
Nice, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful answers. It is clarified, and thank you for the class also, Mataji. Thank you so much for you're giving your time for us, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. I am benefited because of this. In this Purushottam month, we can read the purports. in depth and try to discuss a little bit on that. So thank you for initiating this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, Mataji. So if there is nothing else, so maybe we'll end the call here, and we can do the rest of the purports the next time. You can also go through it, the purports, and come up with any points of realizations or questions that we might have. So it will be a good discussion. Okay, thank you all very much.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ललितांगी माताजी की जय
वृंदा माता जी की जय
हरे कृष्ण
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.